Most people wait until something's wrong to see a doctor. You are not most people. I'm Kevin White. After more than 20 years as an emergency physician, I realized the best medicine is not waiting for the crash. It's helping people stay on the road. This is The Daily Apple, a podcast about living better, longer. Every episode gives you something you can use this week, a smarter habit, a clearer path, or maybe just a new way to think about your health. Because engaged patients are the best patients, and your best years do not have to be behind you. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to The Daily Apple. I'm totally thrilled here to be with the one and only Zane Griggs, who he's a health coach, but he's actually a lot more than that. I mean, we tried to define what you were before, and I heard you say that, and it's like, that doesn't really make sense. You're a lot more than that. You truly are you work with people at a deep, deep level to obtain some pretty incredible results and really some life-changing things. And as we were talking initially, I was hearing all the stuff you were checking and diving down. I was like, yeah, you're doing my work for me as a physician, or you're really getting people to pay attention to stuff that really moves the mark in a really deep level. So I just appreciated that. I know you're an author. You've got a lot of other things going on. So you're into it, brother. So it's really great to talk to you and kind of pick your brain. So I appreciate you making time, man.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think we hit it off right out of the gate. We started talking, and I have to say I appreciate you what you brought into your practice as an integrative medical provider. It's refreshing. It's very hard to find. So yeah. I appreciate it.
What kind of dog you got there, man?
So we're doing it's a mutt. So a daughter moves to LA and leaves the dog with us, and so that's what we end up with. We get an unruly mutt that barks at everything that walks by. So
awesome. I love company.
Yeah.
So I guess we should get right into it. I mean, today we're going to talk about, your thing is, being fit over 40, over 50, and really turning things on and changing the game a little bit different. And just because you turn 40 or 50 doesn't mean that, sucks to get old. And I've had patients come to me, new patients, that they're just feeling crummy and they're in their mid 40s, and a provider has, pointed to the age on the labs and says, well, this is the reason why, and leave it at that, which is complete bogus. So that's kind of one of the big things that you dive into, which is extremely appreciated. But tell me how you got there, where you started. We've talked a little bit about, your family and stuff like that. So tell me your origin story, I guess.
Okay. I'll do as quick as possible. In my mid-20s, I noticed, yeah. So my dad has 3 older brothers, and they were all struggling with some form of metabolic disease, mostly heart disease, stroke, and then one with diabetes. And he wasn't struggling with these things. He's only slightly younger than them, and they were in their 50s, 60s. Some of them made it into their 70s. They made it into their 70s before they passed away. But I mean, it was obvious that he had some attention, as well as we knew in the 70s and 80s, to diet. Doing what he could, and always working out. Okay, there's got to be a way to avoid metabolic disease. I don't know why in my 20s, when most of us feel bulletproof. Yeah, I was looking ahead and saying, I don't want that to be my outcome. I think that's avoidable based on what I'm looking at here. And so I started kind of reading, talking to people, experimenting with diets. I'd already started working out consistently in college and had great results from that, as far as just being, really adding muscle and really getting into it, enjoying that feeling. But yeah. I wanted more. I was looking forward to, metabolic disease is not what I want for me. And so that's when I began experimenting with vegan diet for about 3.5 years, and which ended terribly. But I did my best to combine food and do what I could to find protein from that. But
that's tough.
It crashed and burned. Yeah, I crashed and burned. I mean, but I took it to its fullest extent as well as I could. Started became a health coach shortly after that in '98, and had just stopped with the vegan vegetarian experiment about a year before. And then in 2002 began recommending low carb to my weight loss clients. So a little early on that. So a good 20 years ago, and then progressed into 2010, 2011, started playing with intermittent fasting, fasted workouts. And then right around my right around 50, like say 48, 49, 49, 50, I thought it was great. I thought this was it. It's like combo, a little bit of low carb. I wasn't keto or carnivore per se,
Right.
but I had a lower end of carb, doing a lot of fasted workouts, intermittent fasting almost daily. And I realized, like, look, I looked great, but I didn't feel good. I was burnt out, really overtrained and underfed. So I was feeling the burn all the time, even though I wasn't working out. Sleep was disrupted.
How old were
TSH,
you? How
like
old were you
48,
at this
49,
point?
50-ish.
Okay.
When I started really noticing it and trying to figure out like what's going on. Like, again, I was lean, very ripped, low fasting insulin, like fasting insulin was like 3, but my thyroid was off. Like it was like stressed TSH, T3 was a little low, high sexual hormone binding globulin, which told me, okay, high cortisol probably going on here. And the sleep was not great. And I really just started feeling the energy drain, like burnt out. My wife would probably tell you I was a little bit on the grumpy side during those years. And, it was not ideal. I'm like, what's going on? I realized, like, wait a minute, I'm doing everything right. I was over cranking metabolic stress is really what it came down to. And when I realized this, I started digging in a little deeper beyond just surface level biochemistry and started trying to understand like what's going on, what's with, what the impacts of metabolic stress, of stress hormones in general, on thyroid, on testosterone levels, and on our metabolic health. I mean, also my fasting glucose, even though I had low fasting insulin, my fasting glucose was often in the 90s, like low to mid, which I knew was not ideal. Like I really wanted to be in the 80s, right? Or
Yeah.
70s.
80. Yeah. Yeah.
Not above 85, ideally, for me.
Right.
I realize they're moving the range up to like 70 to 90 now, but originally it was like 65, 85. That's where, okay, what am I doing wrong? And so again, digging in, I realized, okay, I'm over cranking metabolic stress. I'm basically hitting everything with a hammer. I'm not honoring nutrition, rest, recovery. And at the time when I was burning out, I had already started supplementing with TRT, with testosterone. So testosterone was cranking, but it didn't make up for the stress I was creating with my diet and the fasting protocols, and all these things layered on top. I mean, note, I'm still on TRT, but I'm taking 30% less now than I was then. And I feel better because I've adjusted my diet, and I'm paying attention to what my body's telling me, and I'm allowing for recovery and proper nutrition. And so that's where okay, it's diet, exercise, sleep, foundational, integrative approaches we layer on top with this any kind of hormone replacement, peptides, whatever we do. Those things can't out leverage mistakes if you're doing something really wrong. A few mistakes, fine. Nobody's perfect.
Right.
But if you really get something going on wrong with, like, you're not honoring those 3 foundational aspects of our lifestyle, you really shouldn't try to out leverage them with integrative approaches, right? Those are to like clean up the little messes where the imperfections, not where.
So what were you doing? Were you just not sleeping and overtrained? What was life like?
Basically, I was low carb. I'm going to be more specific. Is probably most of the time 100 to 150 grams of carbs, and I'm eating well over 2,000 calories, or give or take, just over 2,000 calories, but 100, 150 grams of carbs, probably 100 grams of 100 or 200, close to 200, 180, 200 grams of protein, probably quite a bit of fat. So very low carb, less than 25% of calories come from carb. Intermittent, like a 16-hour intermittent fast, probably 5-6 days a week, doing a 24-hour fast 1 day a week, and a lot of fasted weight training and sprinting. And it was like cortisol high, right? And not recovering. I was basically underfueled and overtrained. And it's like some people can probably get away with it when they're younger, like even 38, 40 maybe. And I had gotten away with it. Doesn't mean it was a good idea. And so as I dug in, I'm realizing, okay, I'm over cranking these metabolic tools, right? These stress tools to a point that it's hurting me. And it made me dig deeper. It made me rethink everything I've been doing and telling people to do, which was kind of hard. I had to get the ego out of the way and admit I was really, really off in terms of how our bodies really need to be trained, fed, and then how it should be responding. And if we treat them right, we don't have to kill ourselves to have good metabolic health. But it's a tendency for many of us that we always hit something like with a hammer as hard as we could. And as we get older, we lose the ability to get away with that, I think. And it may hit all of us a little differently, but at some point it could catch up with you.
What was your sleep like back then? And this
I
wasn't
would just wake up often. I would just wake up a lot, or wake up in the middle of the night with a racing heart rate.
Yeah.
So you got that cortisol spike because your blood sugar is gone, and your gluconeogenesis is kicking in at 2 or 3 a.m. And trying to pump out some more glucose. And I was probably breaking down a lot, all that fasting, low carb, breaking down a lot of muscle to turn it into glucose to replace my glucose needs instead of just eating it, instead of just supplying it. I was having to break down lean mass to make it. And that's a very stressful state, which I think led to an over leveraging gluconeogenesis, which then led to, or glucose production essentially, which led to the elevated blood sugar all the time, my body trying to keep up. Yeah. And so it's like over leveraged. And when I added carbs back in, I tested about 10 months later, and my blood glucose had dropped from mid-90s to 79, my fasting glucose.
Now, whenever you say carbs, people are going to hear that and they're going to think a lot of different things. And you and me, when we think about carbs, it's one thing. When the average Joe, they think of, Lay's potato chips. So you might want to lay the groundwork with what you're talking about there. So,
absolutely. Whole food. So fruit, my carbs are fruit, white rice, and sweet potatoes, and occasionally some potatoes. And I'm not saying it should be exclusively that. I mean, find yours, but whole food, single ingredient carb sources, avoiding ultra processed food. And I think that's where a lot of this journey took me, was to realize and to dig in and realize, in my opinion, a very strong opinion about this, that the reason we have metabolic disease at the level we have now is because of processed food. It's not from eating fruit and rice, and because those have always been a part of our diet. We can have 10,000 years of history of eating all these foods in abundance without metabolic disease. Metabolic disease is a new disease from the 20th century. So are these processed foods. It's like they correlate really well in a timeline. And it shouldn't be a mystery. We don't need a whole lot of science. We need a history lesson. It's like we can just look back and go, these two things started in the same century. And before that, they weren't really around. So it's the processed food. And so ultra processed foods were like basically the processed seed oils with a lot of heavily processed grains, probably with a lot of other chemicals on those. And then you throw some sugar on top, and you've got a recipe for metabolic disease. My personal opinion is it's driven from the oxidative stress caused by the seed oils in the mitochondria, because all disease, from what I understand, comes from oxidative stress originally. Whether it's like smoking causes oxidative stress, alcohol causes oxidative stress, the stress of life, right? That's all oxidative stress. And so dietary oxidative stress, radiation's oxidative stress, which is the beginning, damaging mitochondria, damaging cells, which leads to disease. To demonize a particular macronutrient doesn't make sense, because, again, we've got a history of eating all of them in varying amounts and geographically where they were available all over the world without disease. So that's what it led me to realize, why would I blame fruit for what, like you said, the Lay's potato chips are really responsible for? The donuts. Basically, look at the bag, box, or bottle in a grocery store, and they're going to have these processed oils in the first 3 ingredients. You said it there. If it's in a bag or a box, you got to think twice about that option. So, so that's an important. So you were saying, so you're overtraining. Even though you're from the outside looking in, you're metabolically sound and everything. This is you're 48, 49 years old, and you start to add carbohydrates back in, but they're qualified real food carbohydrates. And where did that take you then? So I really just started. So it took me a while to figure it out and talk to people. So I really just started adding them significantly. First, I stopped fasting. I was probably 52. Stopped fasting for about 6 months. I was like, sleep improves. And then about 2 years ago, I increased carb intake, whole food carbs, to about 250 to 300 grams a day, which really brought me up to a nice level nice caloric intake as well compared to my output and my basal metabolic rate. It actually matched up much better. And that's when my blood sugar came back to 79 as of my fasting glucose, but my fasting insulin stayed the same, stayed right around 3. It's 2.9. Thyroid improved, wasn't as stressed, had the SHBG, the sex hormone body globulin, came down, and my sleep improved, getting more deep sleep. I track it with the Oura Ring, more deep sleep, fewer wake ups. Not that it's perfect, and I'm still dialing that in, what can help me with that nutritionally, but huge improvement in how I feel, and started making strength gains, fewer injuries, just feeling better, having more energy between the workouts, not feeling so overtrained, not that constant burning. And so it was immediate, within a couple months, an immediate improvement in my recovery and general energy. So, yeah. And again, whole food. And I played with the thing, I was experimenting, but it was all whole food carbs. I mean, processed food makes up a very, very small percentage of my diet. I'm not perfect at all, but it's selective. And if I see something on there in an ingredient list that I really don't want in my body, it's like, oh, sorry, I'll find an alternative.
Yeah, I first heard about this when we were getting coffee that morning. You were putting honey in your coffee, and I hadn't seen that before. I'm like, what are you doing? And you're like, well, I'm introducing carbs back in. I don't feel like it's in today. And it was actually pretty good. It wasn't not bad. I've done that since. Pretty interesting. But
good. Cool.
Yeah. You changed my ways. But, well, very cool, Zane. I mean, so right now, that's brought me up to now. And what kind of diet's like. And I do want to get in a regular day of Zane Griggs and what that actually looks like, because people are going to look at your stuff now and they're going to see, you're on the cover of Men's Health and all this other nonsense over the years. You've had quite an interesting career thus far. But yeah.
I get bored, so I have to tinker and do things and, want to do something different, write a book. Great idea. Yeah, that's how I work. But I do I try to stay curious, and I've found that when I get locked in too much to a strategy rather than paying attention to that's when I get myself in trouble. Yeah. And so I think staying curious and being aware of what your body's telling you, looking at blood work, how you feel, that's step one right there.
Sure. And then noticing what we're doing to screw ourselves up. 90% of it seems like we, my patients, sabotage ourselves. Our bodies want to be healthy. We just keep screwing things up for ourselves. So just stop it already. And just relook at things a different way. But so right now, you're working with people, you're expanding that to cover more reach, which, some of the plans and stuff you have in the future is very, very awesome. You're bringing a lot of information that's useful to people. But, you've worked with a lot of people, and tell me a little bit about somebody the idea is people hit 40 or 50, it's all downhill from there. We're kind of changing the way people should think about it, and, myself included. But, tell us about, if you think about a client that's kind of shattered that myth of, getting into the best shape of their life after 50 kind of thing. I have a few where men and women where I think lining up the diet, I had a doctor friend of mine I was working with who he was, you've probably been through this, where you building your practice, maybe you're still working ER or some kind of something, and you're trying to build things. And so there's a lot of stress, and it wasn't unsympathetic to the stress, but the alcohol was a part of that de-stressing every night. Yeah. And we were doing everything. I changed his diet, changed his, we made his workout a little more dynamic, and made sure that was more complete, hitting everything well, but allowing time for recovery. And then it was this one linchpin of alcohol, the weight wasn't budging. Yeah. I say, let's bring it back for one instance. People want to hear this. 2 drinks a week. Come back to 2 drinks a week. And he was like, what? But his weight loss was a 1/4 pound a week, which was not reflective of everything we were doing. And he had about 40 pounds he needed to lose. And as soon as we cut that back to 1 or 2 drinks a week, it was the weight loss is back to pound and a half, 2 pounds. And so it's moving. And
and at this point, he wasn't even on hormone replacement.
Oh, wow.
But,
How old was he, did you say?
He was mid-40s. He was like mid-40s.
Okay.
And so it was low. It wasn't in the toilet, but it was low.
Mm-hmm.
But it's amazing how much of an effect alcohol can have on weight loss. You know, my personal experience with client after client has been more than 2 drinks a week, whether it's 1 drink on 2 days or 2 drinks on the one. More than that, I can't predict what your weight loss is going to do, but it's probably going to be slowed down.
Yeah.
2 drinks a week is somewhat tolerable for most people from what I've seen. Some people may not be able to handle any. But the impact of hormone replacement, I think, has been one of the biggest, probably the most important, if you want to call it a biohack or integrative approach I've seen. Once you get those foundations in place.
Yeah.
I've had one lady who was very good shape, always taking care of herself. But when she added testosterone into her routine at, I would say 52, 53, it was like, she said, oh, I remember this person.
Yeah.
I remember what this was like. You know, oh my gosh, I have my brain back. I have her. She's a singer and she's still, she's been Broadway past, but I mean, she's still producing and singing, and she found she was able to hit notes like high C's that she hadn't hit since her 30s.
Oh, wow.
And without ruining her voice, without hurting her voice the next day too. Yeah. So it was like everything improved. And I can't tell you how many women I've heard from where they get a little bit of, even in their before menopause, a little thyroid and some testosterone on board, because those are low. That's where they usually initially happens before menopause. And suddenly the brain fog goes away. They feel better. Their libido comes back. They're like telling their husbands that they need to get some testosterone so they can keep up with them. Yeah. And it's like in every way. Yeah. And it's life changing. It's relationship changing. It's really amazing what, again, get the foundations in place, add in a little hormone replacement to balance to optimal levels, not normal for your age levels, because who wants to be normal for their age over 40, but optimal levels. And you get to bring the youth from hormones together with the wisdom you've earned from age and a career. And you are now, you're in your
prime. Yeah.
You're a force because you got this with the juice going through you to help you recover, help you think clearly, help you sleep better, perform better. That drive comes back. I know when I started, I felt like I was in a rut and bored. And I started on testosterone therapy. Within 6 months, I was like, I'm going to write a book. And I just started brain dumping into stuff and just self-published it. And then created a weight loss group to pair with it as soon as I published it on Facebook. And I was like, I've never done anything like that before. I was 48. Boom. The creativity comes back. The problem solving comes back. It's really remarkable.
True. And, I want to touch back on that really unpopular thing you brought up about alcohol. That is huge. We have people, they may have 3-4 pounds of visceral adiposity on the DEXA, and that's a huge thing. And dropping that, if you want to see real results, you just kind of stop that, and you can really, get the other things in order. It'll really speed the wheels, grease the wheels, I guess.
And help your sleep tremendously.
Yeah. So let's see what other hard questions do I have for you, man?
Not too hard.
So, obviously people look at you if they think fitness advice. What are you doing? So what's whenever you get north of 40, give me a piece of fitness advice everyone thinks is true after 40, but you found maybe totally off base.
Well, I think one thing when you think about is to honor recovery a little better, because when you're under 40, you can kind of, you want to get back. If you let yourself go, you want to get back in shape. You just hit everything hard, right? You're working out 5-6 days a week. You're hitting boot camps. You're slashing calories. You're slashing some food group like carbs or fat. And that's like your body tolerates it because of your hormonal profile and where you are in your youth. It's not ideal then. It's not the ideal way. It's just a fast way. Maybe. But once you're over 40, you start hitting your fitness and diet like that as well, your workouts and diet like that, you're setting yourself up for like what I came into, which is a metabolic stress or some kind of rebound diet.
Yeah.
Two,
Yeah.
probably injury in your workouts because you're not recovering.
Mm-hmm.
And as you get tired, your form dissipates. You're not recovering, so you're overtraining tissues, you're not healing. It'll impact your sleep because cortisol level is going to be high.
Yeah.
So all of these things are that you used to do and you got away with, the repercussions are much more obvious.
True. Yeah. We've got a patient like that he's overtraining for the reasons you discussed. And we've done like epigenetic testing and everything. And the inflammation stuff is through the roof. And he's just not recovering at all. But he's addicted to just blowing and going. Go ahead, though.
Yeah. So what I found with several things. So I kind of like 3 or 4 strength training workouts in a week, tops. Okay. I like to allow for recovery. A lot of low intensity, so whether it's walking or very low end, like zone 1, zone 2 tops, cardio, if you whether it's a bike, if you like to jog, fine, walk up hills, doesn't matter. Swimming, great. And a little bit of really high intensity, like 1 or 2 sessions a week. 1 is enough, of some kind of sprint. Again, it could be sprinting on the lawn somewhere, or it could be the assault bike that gets your heart rate up for 30 seconds. Come back, do a few sessions of that, a few intervals of that just to get the heart rate high. But stay out of that temptation of slogging out hours of zone 3, low zone 4 cardio because of the inflammation you get from it. And it's really hard to recover from, and it tends to have more wear and tear than benefit. You can get a lot of cardiovascular, mitochondrial benefit from that low zone 2 without the inflammation, without the added fatigue, and it's easier to recover from. And you can do that frequently and build a nice cardio base. And then to add to the VO2 max, those 1 or 2 sessions of the high intensity can really enhance that. Yeah. And then the strength training, again, let your body recover. Whether it's I kind of like either full body workouts 3 times a week or upper body, lower body. So cutting back on the sets, cutting back on the volume, workout with intensity and intention, hitting, but then allow rest. Just stimulation frequent, but not the same muscles frequent, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, but fewer sets, less volume. Mm-hmm. And that, so enough to stimulate growth or retention, muscle retention, but not so much that you're pounding it and you're sore for 4 days. That's not right. That's not ideal. And even with hormone replacement, I don't care if you got a hormone replacement on board or not. Again, don't over leverage because you can get away with it. Yeah. So that's where I think bouts of high intensity, a lot of very low intensity, stay out of the middle, because that's where injury and overtraining tends to happen, is in that middle zone. When if you creep up there 10, 20% of the time your cardio, that's one thing. But when, like a lot of people go out there and just slog out the miles and hours in that zone 3, low zone 4, and that's where the wear and tear on joints and your cardiovascular system really seems to be, really building. That wear and tear seems to build up.
Yeah. And it doesn't, you said it right there. It just hitting one muscle group once a week or maybe twice a week tops, getting that adequate recovery. Everybody that I've seen that's successful in maintaining, strength, physique, all that stuff, good lean muscle structure and in a healthy way, that's the name of the game right there. And I remember the first time I heard this, 20 years ago, I remember seeing a guy that owned the gym, and he said, I just, do one muscle group a week and I'll do like 7 or 10 intentional sets. And I was like, wait, what? And he looked like some, Greek mythology looking god. I mean, I was just chiseled. I was like, you're kidding me. And he said, it's just consistent. And then if man makes it, I don't eat it. And he showed me what he ate. And I was like, that's insane. So it doesn't really take that much. It just has to be intentional for a bit of time is what I'm hearing you say, which I agree with.
Yeah. Intentional, not overdoing. I mean, if you're having trouble recovering, that's a good clue. If you're feeling run down or you're feeling kind of sluggish, That's include a rest. That's take a rest day and don't feel guilty about it.
Yeah.
I think we, and go to bed on time. Don't let that Netflix spinner set the next episode going. It's time. Honor your sleep. That's that's a major weapon against overtraining and recovery, and just having clear thought, like having a productive day.
And dang it, Netflix, they do that automatic thing that it pops the next
they do.
And it goes, you got to stop it or it'll just shoot you in the next
10 more minutes. And it's like, it's not 10 minutes, it's 45 minutes. And it's like someone just stuck another dessert in front of you, and just like,
try this.
Try this off the dessert tray. And you're like,
oh, yeah.
I already got the spoon. So it's honoring that sleep and recovery. And again, you're feeling run down. You just feel like, I don't feel like, go walk.
Yeah.
Go walk. Take a break from the intense stuff if you're feeling that run down, and just walk. You'll feel better. You're getting benefit from it. You get, like in our age, if you get a heart rate of 90 to 100, you're not going to be huffing and puffing, but there is some cardiovascular benefit to that range just from walking some hills and you get the kind of a sort of active recovery from that, where you get the blood flow.
Yeah.
But you don't have the wear and tear, and it's not going to hold back your recovery. And we can't feel guilty about that every time we go work out. We're not slamming our head against the wall. Right?
Yeah.
It's not always take it to a 10 every time you work out. That's not going to work for you.
And at that rate you just said, you're talking about zone 2 for anybody listening. And that's, that stimulates mitochondrial efficiency and growth there too. So so you're doing something good. So after dinner in the evening, I'll usually take a walk, and that helps me kind of wind down. And dude, the moon was huge last night. Did you see that? Did you have a clear sky in Nashville?
We've been overcast for 2 days. So I heard about it on the news, heard people talking about it. I'm going to peek out tonight, maybe get some clearance, because I know it was but it was huge. Yeah, it's that harvest moon or whatever they call it.
I don't know what it was, but it was huge. All right. Well, talk to me about, we have a lot of people in this stage that they're, juggling careers, families, doing things, life, all that stuff. And what's your go-to strategy, for people who complain about time? What do you say to people? I mean, I've got my things that I come up with and say, but I know you deal with that.
You mean time for like working out and all that kind of making time?
Yeah. And I know if people are coming to see you, they're dialed in. They're like, okay, I'm doing stuff. So you don't have to deal with that so much.
And a lot of my people are disciplined, but there's plenty that come and just go, I don't know how to do this. And so it's really helping them understand. And it sounds cliche.
Yeah.
Why do you want to get healthy? Why do you want to get in shape? What's going to get you out of bed, or what's going to make you take that break from work to go take care of your health? What's bigger than you? Because if it's just because you want to look better in your jeans or your swimsuit or whatever, that's not going to work long term. It's got to be, I want to live longer and be in better shape for my family. I want to be able to perform at my career and not get retired or sidelined because of a health event.
Yeah.
And not be able to keep doing what I love, whether you're a corporate officer or you got your own business, you don't want to be sidelined for a health event, but every year you're at greater risk of that if you don't address these foundational issues. Do you want to be around for your grandkids?
Yeah.
Do you want to be able to do something with them, or do you want them just visiting you in the home or in the hospital
Exactly. Yeah. Chronic disease is harder.
Chronic disease is the downfall. It's like, do you want to enjoy what you've built or what you've worked for or the relationship you've formed? Are those more important enough or important enough for you to like squeeze this in? It doesn't have to be, and you're not trying to create a part-time job for them. It's like, what are the highlights? What are the things that you can do that give the biggest bang for your buck? Where's the biggest leverage points? Mm-hmm. And you really get a lot of them done in a handful of hours. Mm-hmm. I mean, handful of hours a week, like 4 or 5 hours a week would change your life.
Right. Dispersed throughout the week. Yeah.
Yeah. Dispersed throughout the week, 4 or 5 hours of specific items that really don't take much time to get a big impact on your health, and better choices with your food goes a long way as well, which that's really just this, not that. You're already buying food. You're already eating. just improve the quality. That's
Yeah.
huge. And so it really comes down to where are your priorities. Do you really want this? I have a hard time with people who say, I don't have time to exercise. I'm like, then you're not really trying to change your health.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know if I really want to work with someone who
Right.
doesn't want to exercise, because then why would you take my dietary advice
Yeah.
if you're not willing to even invest in yourself by carving out an hour and a half, 2 hours a week of some sort of movement?
Yeah.
I mean, even if you just do that.
But the
How
time
serious are you?
is you either spend the time now or you'll spend the time in the future. Just forget the money of spending on but just talk about the thing that pisses me off is just waiting in a waiting room. I went with my son, to go to an appointment, and I was like, here we are again. This is what it's like. We're just sitting here and 45 minutes went by and everything, just because the nature of the business of healthcare, I just want to avoid that. And people should want to avoid that. But anyway, I'm off.
There's that's of all the things. I mean, waiting in a waiting room. How about you get hospitalized because your blood pressure is off, or your blood sugar are off, and you get taken to the hospital.
Yeah. I can't tell you a number of times I've seen people in the ER that, they're maybe 60 or 70 and laying there with some chronic disease issue related to cardiovascular or stroke, or they can't move the right side of their body or something. And they'll tell me, oh God, don't get old. And now I just don't think of 60s or 70s as old at all. But because we see
that'd be scary. No, no problem. No. I mean, really, you're a doctor. My wife's a nurse. She did her rotation, her clinicals.
Yeah.
And it's like, what percentage of the people in the hospital are there for chronic disease versus accidents? I mean, it's
astounding. Much more. You go into the ER thinking
90% chronic disease.
Yeah, you go into ER when you're young thinking it's sexy. You're watching ER with George Clooney and all this stuff, and it's not trauma. It's all strokes and heart attacks and diabetic related metabolic syndrome garbage over and over and over again. But so we got to change the way we look at it. But I'm going to change the topic real quick. I wanted to ask you, if you had one exercise, you're stuck on a strand, you're on an island and it's beautiful, but you only get one exercise you can do the rest of your life, what would it be?
You know what? I'd sprint.
Really?
Sprint. So you're getting, I'm talking about sprint where you're out of breath in 15 to 20 seconds.
Well, let's say it's some sort of thing you can lift. You can run fast everywhere you go. But, okay, go on about sprinting. I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, the benefits are both the cardiovascular and the strength and the output and the growth hormone, right? From a hormonal perspective, from a metabolic perspective, and the fact that your legs or your muscles and everything moving, your core, everything's moving at a high intensity to a point of, there creates a demand for muscle and hormonal output, the growth hormone, the testosterone, and you get the metabolic benefit. So I think it kind of it checks a lot of boxes.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying from a movement standpoint.
Right.
I would say, okay, a front squat. So you got a weight, a boulder you're holding right here, and you are squatting with it because you've got arms holding it, you got core engaged to support your spine with this thing in the front of you, and your legs are working. So you got a kind of a full body movement there. And I hate front squats. So I'm not saying it because I love them. They're horrible. A goblet squat, I don't mind, but putting a bar here and doing all that, I absolutely hate it. But if I had to pick one thing that would keep me strong, it would be hold something heavy and squat with it.
Yeah. I just did front bar squats the other day and I hate them. I really, really do.
They're horrible.
But I do them. It just hits different. There's, anteriorly and core and spine. Yeah.
Everything's firing.
Yeah.
This is torture. I can tell you though, I'm moving more toward unilateral leg movements now more than ever, with basically single leg stuff like a Bulgarian split squat or a side squat or a side lunge, like stepping out outside and doing more single leg for the balance, for the rotation, for dealing with extreme ranges when we're usually off balance, because of the resistance against, falling or catching yourself, or just having that balance in place have strength in those extreme ranges or off balance type of positions. And it really is much more athletic because anything you do, movement, whether you're jumping or it's like off one leg.
Yeah.
I'm finding that unilateral leg movements are much preferable, and I don't need as much weight on the back, on the, wherever, to really make that effective. I don't have to overload my spine with something that creates greater risk as I age.
Yeah.
Essentially, but that's me.
What, I know you've been traveling a lot. You speak a lot of different things and you're on the go. And so a lot of our patients do that too. I've got a guy that he's constantly going because he's on boards and different things. And we talk about, diet, exercise and stuff. How do you look at that whenever you travel? I mean, I've got my things that I look at and the way I try to incorporate and maintain, but how do you look at that?
I try to eat as simple, like with food, I try to eat as simply as possible. Again, try to get whole, like when I look at a menu, sometimes I ask, like, what do you cook this in? Because I like to avoid those oils. And if they can do a butter or an olive oil, that's great. But for the most part, I try to stay away from anything fried or sauteed.
Sure.
I'll keep fruit like in a room to have I know I have energy from that, and it's clean. And then cuts of meat that look like they've been either grilled or baked, roasted of some sort, but not fried. Right.
Right.
And from places, and it might be like a deli here or a restaurant where I just say, hey, just ask the waiter and try to get as, single cuts of things where I know the ingredients around all the things on my plate for the most part is obvious.
Yeah.
So, and keep it simple. Just try to keep it simple. But with movement, I have traveled with bands before. When I'm away for a long time, I'll keep a few bands and like those pull-up bands, those long loop bands, because they can kind of anchor to anything, and then I can create gravity from almost any angle with like a light band and a heavy band, and I can create pushes, pulls, maybe some sort of resistance on a leg movement, and in my hotel room if I need to.
Yeah.
But I don't try to overkill it. Like I'm not. If it's 10, 15 minutes, 20 tops of movement, because that's what I have time for, it keeps me from going backwards. And that's what I'm trying to, like, it's basically hold your ground kind of situation.
Yeah.
And make the best of the situation without knowing that my rest, recovery, sleep is probably going to be a little bit compromised as well, because I'm sleeping in a hotel room, out of town, food's different.
Yeah.
So I try to keep it simple, but just enough to like keep everything engaged and not losing ground. So it's not about overkill at all. It's just kind of ticking a box. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Same way, usually sometimes the hotels have garbage as far as their gyms anyway, but it's just a time to kind of wake up the muscles and say, oh yeah, I'm still here. Okay. Just a maintenance thing. And
the hotel has a gym. Do what pick 4 exercises and just knock them out. 4 or 5 exercises and that's it. A push, a pull, a couple leg exercises. Yeah, and don't overcomplicate it. Don't try to replicate your perfect workout. Yeah.
Well. Zane, so tell me what you're working on now. What's the future hold for you? What's your big vision? Where are you taking this thing?
Well, I appreciate the question. And there's aspects of it that are still fuzzy, but I'm really, I've done a lot of experimenting, and I want to share it with people. I want to share what I've found works really well for me. So there's definitely a book that's just, I'm not last book was a co-author. This is just me. Oh. And there's a book in the future, and I'd love to get on more stages to share it, and that's really where I think, like, about a year from now, I want to be launching that but be really mindful about how I roll that out with access to people, like, so they don't have to read the book, but like access to take the bolt, the guts of the book and make it really accessible to people, like, oh, here's step 1, step 2, step 3, address this. So it's not like you're trying to extract it all from the book, but put it in some sort of tool that people can easily use. Just like, okay, I'll take the principles of this, of what's laid out in this book, and put it to work in a simple way, and make it as simple and as easily assimilated as possible. And that will help people avoid those mistakes. One that I made, have a plan that doesn't overtrain them, overtax them, keeps them charging forward, and helps them become their own advocate for their health. So no offense, but so they're not relying on their doctor to be to have all of the knowledge, but they come in knowing what their target metabolic and hormone levels should be. And they can say, like, hey, they need to understand these things. It's not just about the waistline. That's important. But it's not just how you look in the mirror, but we have to start getting a little more of an educated understanding about, certain markers, blood work, the DEXA scan, like what you offer, and know how these things impact our long-term health. These are tools. And so really help educate the person who really wants to, have optimal health and live with a lot of life in their years as they get older. So that's what I want to equip those people. With,
and even your audience right now, just the way you think about things has helped, I think, empower people. Like, some of the best patients are the educated patients that come to us. They already know, okay, these are my concerns. So to have somebody like you, or the information you put out, that really equips them with useful needle moving knowledge, to bypass all the mistakes and get to what really matters. I think that's super valuable. So, yeah.
Thank you.
How do people find you, all that kind of stuff? And you'd mentioned you're doing a podcast too, or you're starting one, or what do you?
I have a podcast called Healthy AF, Healthy After 50.
That's right.
So we'll have to have you on to talk about what you offer in your practice. Because again, I want to highlight all integrative doctors who are just really taking this and bringing long-term health with lifestyle and tools that really help people optimize their health. But I have a free download people can get, just kind of few page PDF that really goes over how I would approach a client with diet, exercise, recovery, and some ideal metabolic and hormone markers. It's called free40plan.com is where you can find it. So free, the number 40plan.com. But you can find all my socials at zanegriggs.com. And so everything there from my Instagram and my Facebook and all that are listed there. But that's where, I'm probably most active on Instagram is Zane Griggs Fitness.
Yeah. Okay. And I was watching what you were sharing. I was, seeing how you were following your glucose and everything. Have you worn a CGM at all lately, or no?
Not lately. I want to get another one. I know Dexcom just came out with something they even got on Amazon where it's like for your average person to get. Before it was like you need a prescription. I've worn them before. Yeah. So I just started kind of but I got a little just finger prick one that I'm doing just to take people on the journey with me. Yeah. But I'd love to get a Dexcom to show, hey, this is what my blood sugar does. I'm trying to dispel some of the fear around whole food that has been formed. I mean, I came out of the low carb space. And so I still have a lot of people following me who are still, they might believe it, they might see, but they're not sure, but they're having negative side effects from a very low carb diet, like the low thyroid, blood sugars going up, their A1Cs are going up, hormone dysregulation, but they're not quite sure what to do. And they kind of become scared of carbohydrates. So I'm like, hey, look, I'm the guinea pig here. Right. Look at this is normal reaction of blood sugar to whole food. It goes up and then it comes down back to normal. Wake up the next day. It's nice and low, goes up, comes down when you eat. That's what it's supposed to do. And dispel some of the fear and the mythology that's been created and diet dogma, honestly, that's been created around where people get so caught up in a strategy that they've lost sight of the goal, which is health. And they're so much more focused on adhering to a particular strategy that they start ignoring the signals that their body's giving them, that they're seeing their blood work about how it's actually impacting their health. And it's time to change. Yeah. It's time for change. So that's what I'm trying to dispel some of those myths around the dogma and the fear. It's like, whole food didn't create, as I said before, whole food didn't create this problem. Ultra processed food did. And so that's if I have an overarching message,
Mm-hmm.
It's that. Can we stop creating fear around real food?
Yeah. Dude, I love the way you think. I really appreciate you making the time. Zane Griggs, free40plan.com. Free, the number 40plan.com. Man, I appreciate your work, man. I like the way you think, and I appreciate staying in touch and watching where you go from here.
I appreciate, Kevin. I appreciate the conversation with a like-minded doctor. It's so refreshing.
All right. Everybody, thanks for listening in, and everyone have a good day. Talk to you guys later. That's it for today's episode of The Daily Apple. Before you go, I want to leave you with a few questions to think about. 1, are you training harder than you're recovering? 2, what signals is your body sending you recently? Fatigue or poor sleep? And what's a small change you can make this week? 3, where have you let discipline turn into depletion? 4, are you building habits that your future self can actually live with? Take a minute with those. Sometimes the biggest shift doesn't come from adding more, but from paying attention to what's already there. If today's episode got you thinking, share it with a friend who might need it too. Follow The Daily Apple on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so you don't miss what's next. And if you've got questions or ideas for future episodes, drop them on Instagram at Kevin White MD. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.